Alex turned up the volume on his headphones as he walked down the dimly lit street. It was late, but he just wanted to get home after a long day at work. As he passed by the old abandoned house at the end of the block, he shivered. He always hated walking by that place. Suddenly, he thought he heard a noise coming from the house. He paused, straining to listen. At first, he convinced himself it was just the wind, but then he heard it again. A faint scratching sound, like claws against wood. Alex quickened his pace, his heart pounding. Just as he reached the end of the street, he glanced back at the house. To his horror, he saw a shadowy figure in one of the upstairs windows watching him. Alex broke into a sprint, desperate to get away from whatever was in that house. Alex burst through his front door, slamming it shut behind him. He leaned against it, gasping for breath, his mind racing. What was that thing he saw in the window? It couldn't have been human. With shaking hands, Alex made sure all the doors and windows were locked. He then hurried to the kitchen and grabbed a large kitchen knife just in case. Clutching the knife, he crept upstairs to his bedroom and barricaded the door. For hours, Alex sat in the dark, too terrified to sleep. Every creak and groan of the old house made him jump. He strained to listen for any signs of movement, but heard nothing. As dawn approached, exhaustion finally overtook him, and he drifted off into an uneasy sleep. When he awoke, the first thing he did was rush to the window and peer outside. The street was empty, the old house looking just as abandoned as ever. Alex let out a shaky breath, his heart still pounding. Whatever he had seen, it was gone, for now. But he knew he would never feel safe in his own home again. Over the next few days, Alex was constantly on edge. Every noise, every shadow made him jump. He couldn't stop thinking about the shadowy figure he'd seen in the window of the abandoned house. What was it? And was it still out there, watching him? One night, as Alex was getting ready for bed, he heard a faint scratching sound coming from downstairs. His heart leapt into his throat as he froze, straining to listen. The scratching sound grew louder, accompanied by the creaking of floorboards. Someone, or something, was in his house. Clutching the knife he kept by his bedside, Alex slowly made his way downstairs, every step filled with dread. He reached the bottom of the stairs and peered into the dark living room. At first, he saw nothing. Then, a pair of glowing red eyes emerged from the shadows, fixed on him. Alex let out a terrified scream and stumbled backwards, his grip on the knife tightening. The creature stepped forward, revealing itself to be the same pale, monstrous figure he had seen in the window. Its jagged teeth were bared in a sinister grin as it advanced towards him. Alex turned and ran, his mind racing with panic. He had to get out of here, get as far away from this thing as possible. But as he reached the front door, he found it was locked. The creature must have done that when it broke in. Desperate, Alex looked around for any other escape route. His eyes landed on the basement door. Without hesitation, he wrenched it open and hurled himself down the stairs, slamming the door behind him. He could hear the creature's guttural snarls as it pursued him. Racing through the darkened basement, Alex searched frantically for a way out. But there were no windows, no other doors. He was trapped. As the creature's footsteps drew closer, Alex braced himself, knife in hand, prepared to make his final stand against the horrors that had invaded his once safe home. Alex's heart pounded as he gripped the knife, his knuckles turning white. The creature's footsteps were getting closer, its menacing growls echoing through the dark basement. There was nowhere left for Alex to run. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He quickly scanned the basement, his eyes landing on a large metal shelving unit in the corner. Without hesitation, Alex rushed over and with all his strength, shoved the heavy shelves in front of the basement door, blocking the entrance. Just as the creature reached the door, it slammed into the makeshift barricade, letting out a furious roar. Alex watched in horror as the creature's clawed hands clawed at the shelves, trying to push its way through. Knowing he didn't have much time, Alex frantically searched the basement for anything he could use as a weapon. His eyes settled on an old metal crowbar lying on a workbench. He grabbed it and turned back to the door, just as the creature managed to knock one of the shelves aside. With a yell, Alex swung the crowbar with all his might, striking the creature square in the head. It let out a piercing scream and stumbled backwards, dazed. Not wasting a moment, Alex rained blow after blow down on the creature, adrenaline fueling his strength. After what felt like an eternity, the creature finally collapsed to the ground, unmoving. Alex stood there, chest heaving, the crowbar trembling in his hands. He had done it. He had defeated the horrifying entity that had invaded his home. Summoning the last of his energy, Alex pushed the shelves back in place, barricading the door. He then raced upstairs, locking every door and window behind him. As dawn broke, Alex huddled in the corner of his room, gripping the knife, too terrified to sleep. He knew the creature might still be out there, waiting. But this time, he was ready to fight.